Really pleased and delighted to be here today to talk to you about the Solent Cluster and something quite exciting that's happening down on the south coast. I think you had to ask me, how do you pronounce the Solent as well? So now this isn't working. I'm trying to go to the next slide. Point somewhere else. So the Solent, anyway, I'll carry on talking. There we go. Excellent. So on the south coast of England, and unless you're a sailor, you probably haven't heard of the Solent. So anchor points for us are very much two cities of Southampton and Portsmouth in the centre of the south coast. A really key part of the United Kingdom and one of the 6 industrial clusters that government have identified. And government have said that they want to focus on those industrial clusters in order for the UK to decarbonise and hit those net zero targets by 2050. Strategically positioned on the south coast, we have an amazing opportunity. We have one of the UK's second largest port. It's the key export port of the UK and the number 1 cruise port in Europe. We have the ExxonMobil facility as well, which is the largest, most complex oil refinery in the UK. Strategically positioned with a whole range of infrastructure assets that provide us with a massive opportunity to decarbonise not only the Solent but the wider south of England. So that's an absolute focus for us today, and I'll talk about that today. But when you look at that sort of map of industrial clusters across the UK, you can see they're all on the coast of England, and they're all in areas that are in need of levelling up, the opportunity to decarbonise will support regional inequality or addressing regional inequality. Solent, yes, it's on the south coast, but it does have a whole range of socio-economic challenges. The 2 cities, Southampton and Portsmouth, are in the 20% most deprived areas of the UK. There are pockets of deprivation within those 2 cities, the Isle of Wight, Gosport, Havant, that are actually in the 10% most deprived in the UK as well. Productivity has been a challenge for us. We've lagged behind productivity for a long time. And if we think back to the last decade, the Solent has seen about a 1% increase in productivity, or GVA, gross value added, over that time, whereas the wider southeast and the wider UK has seen a 14% increase. So there's factors that are holding this area back, and that's really important. Because when we look and we go through this presentation and we see that the opportunity that our core anchor projects can provide, this is an opportunity to address that regional inequality, address the skills challenges, and provide the communities in the Solent and the wider area with a brighter future. So we really want the Solent to be at the centre of a low carbon revolution for the UK and to export that knowledge globally. This is really, I suppose, the cut to the chase slide. Really, we published a socio-economic report back in November. You can download it from our website, or you can go and get it on our stand as well. We've got hard copies there for you to take away. And the numbers are really impressive. And those numbers are really important when we think about some of the economic challenges that the area has, really. We've got an opportunity, just working around the sort of slides you can see behind me. I'm looking down because they're down there as well. We've got an opportunity of private sector investment, just under £12 billion. Any area in the UK globally that would look at that kind of investment, particularly in a really tough public fiscal environment, is something that most areas would absolutely want, and provides us with an opportunity to uplift and revitalise the economy. That investment will generate a £4.4 billion uplift to gross value added, so that measure of productivity locally. That's really important. Our economy is about £31 billion at the moment, so you can see it's a sizable chunk of that increase that will come from this opportunity. We'll talk a bit more about some of these metrics as we go through the presentation, but a 42% reduction in emissions based on in 2040 from 2022 levels. Opportunity to capture 10 million tonnes per annum carbon dioxide. We'll talk about that a little as well. And importantly, given what I've spoke about, an opportunity to sustain 70,000 jobs, and to, as part of those 70,000, create just under 20,000 new jobs as well, in an area that very much needs high-value jobs for the future. The Solent Cluster, we are a relatively new cluster when we look at our friends and colleagues in some of the other parts of the UK, but we're growing fast. And when you look at, this is always out of date, and I think we're up to about 140 members now across our cluster, which is a really impressive number, and it's growing weekly as well. The team are doing a really, really good work to join this, and I think that's one of the key features of our cluster. We really are open. We recognise the role of the public sector, the private sector, academia, and our further education and sixth form colleges in supporting our ambition to create a low carbon economy here in the Solent. Microphone keeps getting caught on here. So our vision for the future is that our area plays a really important role in addressing net zero, or in tackling net zero and achieving those net zero targets. Our vision for the future is very much focused around 6 anchor projects, and again you can see the details of those in our socio-economic report. Very, very early stages of those, but there'll be people on the stand that you can talk to if there's further questions you want on those. And those 6 projects are broadly captured under carbon capture storage, hydrogen fuel production, and sustainable aviation fuel production as well. And we'll talk a little bit about those. So some of the projects that you'll see in our socio-economic report, and that are driving those metrics that we had on one of the earlier slides. The Solent Blue Hydrogen plant, focused in on the Forley refinery, provides an opportunity to generate up to 1.4 gigawatts of energy by 2030, and then a second phase of that, another 1.4 gigawatts by potentially 2035 as well. And an opportunity to sort of energy switch away from natural gas for those industries that are harder to decarbonise. A potential sustainable aviation fuel project as well at the same site. We're very fortunate in the area. There are pipelines that connect Forley, just close to Southampton, to Gatwick and Heathrow and other parts of the UK, that provide us with an opportunity and a critical role to support the decarbonisation of the aviation sector as well. We have an energy from waste plant at Marchwood, an opportunity to capture about 90% of the carbon emitted from that plant as well. And one of the key projects is around an opportunity to store carbon in an offshore location in the English Channel, just to the south of the Isle of Wight. Very, very early stages of that project, looking at feasibility and looking at a technical programme for that. But that gives us an opportunity to pipe that carbon that's captured in the Solent and the wider area to a safe storage site close by, and that's a critical game changer for us. Just going back to those impact slides, I know we sort of said these earlier, and that was the cut to the chase stage, but this is really important, and it's those key figures that we really are keen to make sure that people do walk away with when they come and talk to us from the stand, and when they come into this presentation as well. Significant private sector investment opportunity for our area, and that will raise the productivity of the economy, which is really important for us, and of course sustain 70,000 jobs and create almost 20,000 new jobs there as well. And the environmental impact is of course critical. I think we're around 5 million tonnes of carbon as a sort of figure for the Solent economy at the moment. That'll stay relatively stable between 2022 and 2040, but between that's in a do-nothing scenario or a business-as-usual scenario. But with these projects, the forecast is that we can reduce those emissions in 2040 by 42%, which is significant, and that will provide a big boost for the UK in terms of its ambitions of addressing net zero also. Something for us, I mean, in terms of founder members, I previously worked at Solent Local Enterprise Partnership. There was a network of local enterprise partnerships across the UK trying to support economic regeneration across the UK in their local economies, and this is one of the sort of areas where we were so keen to get involved in the work of the Solent Cluster, because of what it means to the uplift in the economy and a brighter future for younger people within our area, and also those that are looking to career change. We're in a transitioning economy. There are industries that are diminishing, and there are new industries of tomorrow, and it's providing young people and career changers with opportunities to work in those industries, and that's the kind of thing that is really, really important for us. Working really closely with our further education colleges in particular. We have an Institute of Technology locally, which has just opened its doors in September, which is looking to provide those technical skills. And it's really difficult because we're looking ahead to industries of tomorrow and we don't really know what some of those are, but providing those sort of core foundation technical skills that will enable people to have those minds that can move into those and those skills that can move into the industries of tomorrow. So working really closely with that sector. The higher education sector, in our patch just alone, we also have 3 universities, University of Southampton, University of Portsmouth and Solent University, working really closely with them. This is really very much a community effort because we absolutely need those skills coming in, that talent pipeline, to fuel our ambition. And of course, that obviously gives the people of the area an opportunity to take part in this ambition as well, and have a brighter future. So we are a relatively new cluster, but earlier this year we had a sort of one of our first successes, local industrial decarbonisation plan, which I'm sure a few of you are involved in across the country, certainly speaking to other colleagues who are taking forward those projects across the country. This is something we're really, really pleased about. We've got Catriona here is one of our project partners as well, which is really good. And this is very much around when we speak to businesses and sort of historically in the jobs I've done in the past, we speak to businesses a lot, and it's tough out there. They've got massive ambitions to decarbonise, but it's really difficult because they're focusing on the day-to-day, staying afloat, and actually sort of growing their businesses. So this is an opportunity to provide some public funding, matched by their own funding, to look at those opportunities to decarbonise different sectors. And the key part of this is that knowledge share. And sharing that information across the network, and I suppose that's really part of the work we want to do, really, to make sure that this is focused. This isn't focused just on a few players, but actually everybody has an opportunity to learn from the work that we're doing within the Solent Cluster. Ultimately, we'll have a roadmap that will look at opportunities for the area to decarbonise more generally, focusing on industry. Here are our partners. You can see on the screen. I won't just read them out. But we've got a mix there: pipe manufacturers, chemical manufacturers, see larger names that you'll notice there and be familiar with, and AI companies as well, looking at how AI can improve process innovation as well. In terms of our work programme, we started in February, I think, officially, so we've kind of lost a bit of a month and a half due to paperwork, not on our side, but we are there and we're up and running, and we're really confident that we can get this work done by the end of the calendar year. Great opportunity for us. We'll be promoting the work that we do through our regular networking events. We hold those bi-monthly. We had one yesterday, actually, and then there'll be a lot of information on our website to share that knowledge also. We do have people who are sort of deeply involved in that project available on the stand here, and I think some of our partners that are on that slide there are involved in other panel sessions across the 2 days. So I think that's everything from me. Happy to take any questions or point you in the direction of someone who may be able to give you a more detailed answer if I can't. But thanks for your time.